Hi everyone! Welcome to our channel for this new manhwa. We'll be covering Raised the Beast Sincerely, the Cinderella story of Blondina, whose life has changed drastically when her dad, the Emperor, picked her up to raise her at the palace with her nasty, legitimate siblings. How will she adjust to this new kind of life? To discover it, please like and subscribe as it helps us a lot to propose more and more content. Are you ready? Let's go! Blondina is a young blonde girl with gray eyes, orphan of a mother with a nameless father. She works at an inn for a cruel man who never hesitates to beat her up whenever he wants. One day, he threatens to sell her to a local baron whose reputation is to torture and kill little girls like her to pay off his gambling debts. So, she runs away, crying in the street, not wanting to die so horribly. She falls on the ground, dropping a precious ring she inherited from her late mother before she died. She told her that it was a gift from her father and that she must keep it safe at all costs. But Blondina cannot take it anymore. She is desperate and needs money urgently to get out of her everyday nightmare. She enters a pawn shop. At first, the owner doesn't want to deal with her, but when he sees the ring, he jumps off his seat, asking where she stole it, and comes back with guards to take her. She is taken to a very luxurious place and sits in a corner, terrified. Moments later, a man enters the room. He asks about her mother, then declares that he is her father, the Emperor. A few days after arriving at the palace, Blondina learns about the imperial etiquette and rules. As she wakes up, a servant tells her that she is demanded at a tea party with the Emperor. When she arrives, he introduces her to her half-siblings, Lart and Adelaide. He also coldly reminds her about the fake story they made up to hide her commoner's origins and explain her absence until now. Officially, she has been frail and was recuperating at another kingdom. After the tea party, Lart catches her in the corridor and starts insulting her. She replies back, humiliating him, which, of course, angers him. While he is heating up, she keeps her cool, not really knowing why he reacts like this. Adelaide intervenes to stop the commotion. She looks down on Blondina, and because the girl just wants to get rid of them, she brushes it off, smiles, and leaves. On her way back to her room, she passes by a garden where she hears a meowing. She follows the noise and finds a cute, black little kitten. The cute little beast protests in a human language. "I'm not a cat!" But Blondina is not impressed. She notices his injured leg and connects it to a broken branch nearby. She also spots two other cats hiding and scolds them for bullying their friend. They run away and the little girl offers to take the kitten with her to the palace. At first, he protests, looking down on her, but jumps in her arms when she explains that he might be her first and only friend since she's really lonely at the palace. If someone knows what it's like to be rejected, it's him. They both head to her room when they meet a servant and Blondina freezes, choking the cat. He sees her reaction to the servants and increases his presence, making him bow to him, head on the ground. Blondina is surprised by this reaction. Her cat jumps from her arms and transforms into a cute, dark-skinned human boy. Blondina is utterly impressed by the boy's appearance. The servant recognizes him as the Black Leopard, the cruelest of them all. Since Blondina is not really comfortable with the servant around, the boy shortcuts this encounter by asking what he wants from her. He delivers her the royal bracelet the Emperor wanted to give her and leaves. The young boy turns to Blondina, and she frustrates him because she cluelessly doesn't acknowledge his greatness. He turns back into a cat to be carried as they head again to her room. Once there, he reveals his name, Amen. By the time she finishes healing his leg, night has fallen, so he decides to stay and sleep in her bed. He explains that she is a great exception because usually, his kind despises humans, considering them fools and traitors. However, he doesn't think Blondina is like the others. They casually keep on talking, and he warns her not to touch him on the stone he has on his forehead. And from this day on, Amen finds any sort of excuses to visit the princess. Elsewhere in the palace, the Emperor is desperate to find someone with blonde hair, golden eyes, and the power to submit the divine leopards, unlike his daughter who may be blonde but has gray eyes. He remembers Blondina's mother who matched these features but had no power. Despite that, the Emperor fell deeply in love with her. He wanted to protect her and their baby at all costs, so he left them to get the power of the throne. A few days later, Blondina and her lady-in-waiting, Lucy, discuss how long it's been since the last time they saw Amon, when the cat appears from out of nowhere with a bleeding sparrow in his mouth. Lucy rushes out, not able to endure the poor dead thing. Blondina tries to explain to Amon that usually humans find little sparrows cute only when they are alive. Amon turns to the bird and demands that he gets up or he would be definitely dead. The talking bird suddenly revives and explains to the princess that he stayed still because of Amon's sharp teeth. Blondina asks how he can talk, to which the sparrow replies that it's because Amon shared some of his power. Since he has no name, she decides to name him Magetto, to his greatest joy. Amon wants to watch an archery contest to analyze humans' weapons, but needs to stay anonymous. Blondina tries to put a beanie on his head to hide his transformation stone, highly recognizable. He could totally go there in his human form, but it might become complicated and dangerous later, so he prefers his leopard's form. At the contest, the Emperor enters the scene with Lart and Adelaide only, leaving Blondina behind, and announces the beginning of the hunt. After some time, Amon gets bored, so Blondina offers him to go observe the trees instead. She finds one interesting when an arrow whistles just near her ear. As she trembles out of fear, and Amon out of rage, Lart shows up nagging. Amon can't take it and jumps on him, transforms and presses the prince on the ground under his feet. As Lart begs for mercy, Amon doesn't have it and keeps on pressing on his chest and neck, threatening him to death. Blondina intervenes, acknowledges that what Lart did deserves punishment, yet thinks death might be too harsh. Amon threatens Lart one last time and asks the princess if they could go back to the palace together. Later, Lart complains to Adelaide about what happened, and she surprisingly doesn't have his back. She stands that his actions were reckless and could have caused a lot of damage to their reputation, but she reassures him, saying that she will personally avenge him. Adelaide goes to the Emperor's office seemingly upset about how the imperial family is not as powerful as they should be because of the divine leopards wandering around as they wish. The Emperor looks at his daughter, considers her to inherit the throne, and tells her about the legend of the golden-eyed blonde people who descended from Barahan, heir of the first god, and the only one able to defeat those creatures. He encourages her to find them and bring them to the palace so she can become the new empress. In Blondina's room, Amon plays with a ball of yarn and Magetto plays with Amon. The cat jokingly threatens to eat either the princess or Lucy in reprisals for their lack of consideration. Blondina protests, mentioning that she might not taste good since she only ate junk when she was a kid. Amon inquires about what happened and if it's related to her fear of big shredded men. She refuses to talk about it, not comfortable to share for now. Later, Blondina gets prepared to attend a party organized by the Emperor. When she goes to the ballroom without Amon, she is the target of all rumors around. People talk about her dress or her lack of friends. The Emperor arrives, talks to Lart and Adelaide, and encourages them to include their sister and to not leave her alone, despite none of the kids wanting to hang out with each other. They comply, but when they come to talk with their friends, the two young siblings use a language their elder doesn't understand, only to make fun of her. Adelaide turns to her sister, looks down to her, and offers to join the conversation, to which Blondina replies sassily that even if she had something to brag about, she doesn't like this kind of behavior and prefers to go get some fresh air. While Adelaide wonders how she could have understood the conversation, Philip, a young Marquess, seems really interested in Blondina. The princess goes sitting on a bench, thinking about how she doesn't need to understand what the others are saying to figure out what they are talking about. She unpacks a piece of pie and speaks loud about how delicious it is. Out of nowhere, a wild Amon appears and steals the pie. She hugs him tightly, happier to spend time with him than with the other humans. The day after, Blondina learns how to play chess with Lucy when the Marquess Philip is announced. The princess is defiant, not really sure about why he is here. He gives her some presents, tea flowers and a brooch. He states that his family offers one to each princess of the empire, so Adelaide got one too. He also invites her to his upcoming birthday party. But this whole situation doesn't please Amon, who takes a lot of pleasure from trying breaking the gifts and biting Philip's leg. Amin is incredibly angry at the situation. He breaks the tea flower pot and demands explanations about this human's behavior. Since Blondina is not in Philip's mind, she tries to find reasons but doesn't have a clue in the end. She calms the cat down by hugging him, and he asks if she plans to attend the party. She replies that she will think of it, since on one hand, she cannot avoid gathering eternally, but on the other hand, is also sick of being belittled due to her lack of imperial knowledge. Amin kindly offers to teach her Old Atesian, the language Adelaide and Lart spoke with their friends, so they cannot ridicule her anymore. They start their course, and while Blondina wonders how he will be able to write and teach her with his paws, he turns into his human form, leaving her speechless. Blondina tries to protest against this change since she becomes really flustered when he is a human. He notices her change in attitude and plays with it while writing some words in Old Atesian for her to learn. She mentions shyly that she is illiterate, which is not a real issue but might become complicated later, so Amin asks Lucy if she can teach Blondina how to read Standard Atesian. Some days later, Blondina sits by a fountain in the garden. She tries to read words Amin wrote on a note, but as she struggles with one, the Emperor shows up and reads it. He sits next to her and asks if she adjusts properly to the palace. He also mentions how much she looks like her mother, and speculates her life after him, which Blondina corrects. Her mom never loved anyone else than the Emperor, despite her knowing that he would leave them at some point to fulfill his duty. Back in her room, Lucy lets her know that Philip sent another invitation since his birthday party is planned the same day. Blondina finally decides to attend since her Old Atesian got better, and she feels more comfortable facing the crowd. She refuses Amin's offer to come with her in his human form, which triggers him. Blondina tries to reassure Amin on the fact that her going to the party alone has nothing to do with him being a beast. He calms down and she tricks him with a ball of yarn. When she arrives at the party, she greets Philip, who is accompanied by Adelaide and Lart. They notice the brooch adorning her neck, the exact same Adelaide wears as well. The younger princess gets angry and asks Philip and Old Atesian to never invite her anymore if Blondina is to come. She also insults Blondina and is backed up by Lart. But their sister is not having it anymore and talks the same language, humiliating her. Lart is surprised about her use of this language and asks how she learnt it, to which she reminds him that she is an imperial princess too. Adelaide is furious and leaves the party, Lart behind her. Unfortunately for her, one of her carriage's wheels has been destroyed, so she is stuck there while it's being replaced. She screams at a poor lost Lart, who just tries to comfort her. Inside, Blondina apologizes to Philip for the commotion. She explains that she's used to dealing with her siblings' nastiness and that she has no need or will to overthrow Adelaide's position in society, and mostly wants to stay humble. But unfortunately, her sister doesn't understand. She politely asks the Marquess to not invite her anymore to avoid this issue in the future, and Philip suddenly feels his heart bumping loudly in his chest. In her room, Blondina asks Lucy and Magetto about the relationship between mankind and divine leopards. At first, they are both dumbfounded by her ignorance on the subject, since it's common knowledge, but end up explaining that these two people have been meaninglessly battling for centuries before agreeing on a truce. However, 500 years ago appeared the descendant of Baharan, who had the ability to control all the divine leopards. So he almost had them all exterminated until a black leopard managed to kill him and avenge his dead comrades. After all these deaths, humans and leopards came up with another peace treaty. A servant enters with a beautiful bracelet as a gift for Blondina. The letter mentions that the Marquess Philip leaves to study in another country. In his carriage, Philip thinks about the princess, drooling when he remembers how confident and direct she is despite her lack of education and bloodline. He plans to come back to her after his studies to marry her, trusting the fact that he is the best catch for her, since nobody would want a princess with such a debatable background. Amin appears when Blondina is trying on the bracelet. His jealousy shows when he asks who sent it and why. It shows even more when he takes it off her wrist and rushes out. A week later, Amin hasn't shown up, and Blondina worries. During the night, she has a horrible nightmare involving slaughters and fights. She's woken up by Amin, who pokes her face with his paws. He gives her a ring. She loves it, but since it feels a bit loose on her finger, she decides to wear it as a necklace. This makes her think about her father, who recently paid more attention to her and her needs. Amin gets her out of her thoughts by demanding that she doesn't see the other guy, Philip, anymore, since he can buy presents too, and will protect her no matter what. Blondina is confused by the request, but reassures him by saying that the Marquess won't be visiting anymore, since he left for another country, and that she will always choose her favorite cat. Lucy enters the room with a pile of branches in her hands. She explains that these are specific plants that cats like. Amin picks one and goes to play with it. Blondina laughs and asks him if he would choose her or the branch. Amin seems offended and turns into a human to put his head on her knees, affirming that he will always choose his princess. A few times later, the whole imperial family gathers to welcome representatives of another kingdom because of a new trade agreement. A snake comes to Adelaide, who screams in fear. When it goes to Blondina, however, she has no reaction whatsoever, so she is complimented by the emperor for her royal behavior. This angers Adelaide, who seeks for her father's approval as well. After leaving, Blondina thinks about what happened and how, despite her father's efforts, she still doesn't feel like she belongs. Amin shows up and her mood instantly improves. As she hugs him tight, a noble from the other kingdom shows up. They discuss the garden when he suddenly approaches his hand close to her. She fears this move at first, but a cute black snake gets out of his handle and slides to hug her. He explains how glad he is to be able to exchange with a pet lover. Amin's jealousy shows up again, and he tries to beat the poor snake. Another day, still in the garden, Lart passes by Blondina and Lucy riding his horse. He notices them and gives more attention to the lady-in-waiting. Lart is scolded by the Empress for his behavior. At a tea party earlier, two of the invitees basically made an indirect attack on Lart for not mastering the basic Old Artesian skill. So Lart threw some tea at them. After being reprimanded, he walks in the garden, angry at how he's been treated by high society. He overhears Lucy trying to convince a servant to not leave her job with Lady Blondina, and he cannot help but relate to his own situation, since people will always try to reach out for their own benefit and stab you in the back once they consider you worthless. He doesn't understand why Lucy stays with Blondina, who has no power nor authority whatsoever. During dinner with the imperial family, he keeps on looking at Lucy. At night in his bed, he keeps on thinking about Lucy. This kind of desperates him, since he needs to be with someone with enough power to secure his access to the throne, and not crush on the daughter of a declining noble family. Lucy and Blondina are discussing in the garden about an incoming horseback riding competition, and when the princess mentions that she never rode, her lady-in-waiting brings her to a nearby place where people are practicing. Lart, riding his horse, notices them and blushes. Amin is not impressed and makes some moves to get some compliment, confusing Blondina about his intentions. She thinks that he does all this only to please Lucy. Then they hear someone screaming. Lart has fallen from his horse and is now sitting on the ground, his ankle sprained, feeling pathetic. The ladies rush to help him. He tries to stand proudly but falls again. He is caught by Lucy, who then asks him to sit so she can perform first aid on his ankle. Lart looks incredibly embarrassed and shy during the whole process. He almost yells at her to leave him alone when he gets up, but she doesn't listen and helps him walk anyway. Later that night, he thinks about her and about his father, teaching him that a good emperor doesn't fall in love. Years later, Lucy and Blondina are all grown up now. Amin, however, still looks like a cute cat, so the princess wonders if he grows up at all. Yet, when she wants to play with him, he runs away to chase Magetto. She notices that for quite a long time now, he barely lets her touch him, as if he likes someone else. The next morning, when the sun has not risen already, Lucy enters Blondina's room to wake her up. However, she notices an intruder by her side. When the man turns towards her, she recognized the gemstone on his forehead. Amin, human, grown up, hot as hell. A few days later, he lays in the grass under his cat form. The great elder Aisha of the Divine Leopard clan joins him to talk about his coming-of-age ritual and his decision about who will be his observer. He lets her know that as the firstborn of the previous head of the clan, he would like to have the humans' emperor's firstborn, Blondina. First, because he likes her, and second, as a reminder to the humans of who's in charge. She also mentions the ceremonial duel to name the new leader and enjoin him to not kill his opponent like the previous Black Leopard would have done. Amin almost feels insulted by this statement. A few days later at the Imperial Palace, the Emperor and the Empress discuss the leopard's invitation to the ceremony. She makes a comment about being happy to not have her own children attending, which leads to a death glare from her husband, as Blondina is also his child and needs to be considered as such. Blondina enters the room and is informed by the invitation. She accepts to attend the ceremony despite the potential risks and leaves. Elsewhere in the palace, Adelaide is informed about the invitation and, needless to say, she doesn't take it well. After all this time, she is still convinced that her sister wants to upstage her. She demands her servant to keep a close eye on her and to report anything suspicious to set a trap. Blondina and Amin are in her room, sealing some letters to be sent to Lucy. She asks him why he didn't tell her before about the ceremony, and if there is anything she needs to prepare or do in order to not make any mistakes. Amin proudly says that he will manage everything, which reminds her of how commoners propose for marriage. This triggers Amin to a whole new level of embarrassment. She explains it because Lucy and her have reached a marriageable age, and this information seems to interest the leopard a lot. Blondina is irritated at his reaction, convinced that the situation excites him only because of Lucy. She moves the subject back to the coming-of-age ritual, asking when it takes place. 3 days later, as the princess is ready to leave for the forest, the Emperor comes to wish her a safe trip. This behavior keeps Blondina confused during the whole carriage ride. When she arrives, she is welcomed by 2 happy young leopards, who will also participate in the ritual. At night, the ceremony goes on for the 3 creatures facing their observers. Blondina is utterly impressed by everything, even a bit scared since she's the only human among divine creatures. Once the eldest announce the end of the ritual, Amin goes to Blondina, who falls on her knees. She finally realized that Amin is, for a fact, a member of the Divine Leopards clan and that she is pretty much nothing in comparison. But when Amin gets her out of her mind, she hugs him tightly in front of the whole clan. He takes her to his place for her to sleep, and she discovers at the same time that not only he has a house, but also lives alone, without any parent or relative. At Amin's house, he offers her to wash up, so she takes her cape off, triggering him into thinking she would totally strip in front of him. She teases him about that, remembering the cute boy he used to be. She realizes at the same time that she hasn't seen him in his human's form for years now. Convinced that she wouldn't blink an eye if he stripped before her in his human form, she leaves to the bathroom. Amin stays behind, all flustered and blushing. Blondina and Amin are now in bed, not sleeping. He thinks again about when she fell on her knees during the ceremony, scared, and asks her who is the man who traumatized her before. She hesitates at first, but tells him about the time she worked at an inn to survive because she was poor. The innkeeper back then was beating her all the time for whatever reason, so she developed a fear. Amin stares at her right in the eyes and tells her that she needs to go there again to face this man and realize how weak and powerless he is. She starts crying, and he licks her face, wiping her tears, promising her that once she overcomes her fear, he will show her his human face again. The day after, they both ride Blondina's horse to get back to the human empire. They unfortunately encounter some bandits, eager to steal from or rape her. Amin requires Blondina to dismount the horse, named Daisy, and unleashes it against the men. All of them crash on the ground, injured. One of them tries to get up, and the princess notices his golden eyes, like her mother used to have. Amin and Blondina are now riding to her hometown, and the closer they get, the more anxious she gets. The cat notices the tension and hugs her to cheer her up. He is with her, so everything is going to be just fine. They meet a young man she used to know. He doesn't recognize her, but gladly leads her to the inn. Once arrived, she nervously enters the place. Neither the innkeeper nor his wife seems to recognize her. They even behave lovely to her, offering to show her their best rooms for her to stay. On the stairs, the woman turns around to talk to her when she snaps and recognizes the little girl who used to work for her. Instantly, the mood changes and the innkeeper starts making assumptions about her life since she left, treating her like trash. As he tries to grab her hand, she rejects it and slaps him hard in the face. He raises his fist to her, but she stops him, threatening him with heavy consequences. Her imperial attitude scares the man, so she manages to make him apologize and lead her to her room. Once behind the safety of the door, she falls on the floor. Amun congratulates her and thinks about killing the innkeeper. During her stay, Blondina makes the couple work a lot to please her. One evening, as she eats, she announces to them that she has a present in memory of everything they did for her when she was a kid. She shows them the deed to the inn, making her the new owner of the place. She orders them to pack their things and leave by the morning. The man pleads with her to spare them as they have nowhere else to go. Those words make her remember her own situation back then. She had nowhere else to go as well, so they took advantage of her. Even at her weakest, she will have no mercy. During the night, the innkeeper heads to Blondina's room, a knife in hand, ready to torture and kill, having no clue that someone else, more evil, patiently waits for him to make a move. Amun glances at him in the dark and grins as the man shivers in fear. Amun wakes Blondina up for breakfast. She quickly washes up and they go to the common area where they discover that the innkeeper has been attacked and injured during the night. The woman begs Blondina on her knees to not kick them out after what happened and calls her ungrateful after she refuses. The princess is not having it. She reminds her of all the bad treatments they gave her back then and affirms that they are lucky she doesn't seek revenge. Otherwise, they would have both been dead already. She leaves with Amun, happy to have finally been able to close this chapter of her life. Later at the Imperial Palace, Lart enthusiastically inquires about the ritual to his sister and how large the divine beasts really are. As he wonders why she was the one invited when he is the apparent heir to the throne, she makes him realize how dangerous are both his sister and his heritage. The Emperor shows up, looks at her closely, and asks if she was well treated in the forest, to which she answers positively. He cannot help but see how much she looks like her mother growing up and pats her head. Adelaide witnesses the whole scene from afar, heavily jealous of the attention Blondina gets from their father. She acknowledges being the one hiring the brigands who attacked her sister in the forest and is irritated that they didn't do the job properly. It has been a few weeks now that Amun left to attend the final battle to determine who will become the new leader of the divine beasts. Before leaving, he told Blondina that he would be absent for an entire month, not concerned at all about the outcome of the ritual. Yet she keeps on worrying as she doesn't want him to get hurt. The day after, she suggests to Lucy that they go together to the forest of the divine beasts to pick up some mushrooms and taste some raspberries. Lart, who is passing by, offers to escort them. In the forest, the ladies crouch on the ground to observe the mushrooms. As Blondina tells Lucy about some species, Lart is unimpressed and takes the opportunity to make some nasty comments about his sister's commoner background, and is shocked when Lucy defends her friend. They get up to leave, and Blondina tells him that he can join them only if he apologizes. Surprisingly, he proceeds sincerely, proving to Blondina how much he cares for Lucy if he is willing to change his behavior to please her. After walking for quite a time now, Lart starts to worry, and despite Blondina's confidence, she also starts to feel off and suggests moving back to the palace. However, they get lost, and as Lart feels an incoming danger, he draws his sword and brings the two ladies in his arms to protect them. The two siblings start to argue on who is responsible for this situation, each one taking the blame. Lart for allowing this walk into the forest, and Blondina to suggest it in the first place. However, as she witnesses how protective the prince has become, Blondina realizes that this is the first time she feels him as a brother. A wild, aggressive bear appears from behind the bushes. So Blondina orders Lart and Lucy to head to the left while she attracts the beast in the opposite direction. Lart protests, but too late. She starts running, calling Amun. A bit further, she falls on the ground, scared, nonetheless happy that Lart and Lucy could have run away. As the bear approaches, she thinks about her cute little cat and closes her eyes. a scratching noise resounds, and she opens her eyes to discover Amen in his adult leopard form. Blondina prevents him from killing the bear, stating that it is her fault if it attacked her. She suddenly remembers Lucy, and Amen gets angry at her, saying that she shouldn't be in the forest currently because the magic is unstable. They go find the two others, and Lart jumps scared seeing Amen. Lucy recognizes him and is reassured. Amen acts all sweet and kind to Lucy, bringing up some jealousy in Blondina's heart. Amen escorts them all to the palace. The ladies thank him, and the beast announces to the princess that he will sleep with her tonight. Facing her confusion, he asks if she is afraid of him and states that no matter what, she cannot be afraid because she belongs to him. In her bed with Amen beside on the floor, Blondina is concerned. She asks him if he likes Lucy, which he answers positively without any form of hesitation, which upsets her because she finally realizes, after all these years, that if she enjoys his presence so much, it's because she loves him. The day after, Lart is scolded by the Emperor during a family tea party for his reckless idea to get lost in the forest of the divine beasts. The day before, the prince told Blondina that he would indeed take all the blame to himself because she was the one risking her life to save them. The Emperor inquires about the beasts that escorted them back, and Blondina explains that she befriended one of them when she went to the coming-of-age ceremony, making the Emperor think about a new plan to improve the relationships with his clan, based on an official invitation to the palace. Lart, who knows the truth about Amen, teases Blondina and inquires about Lucy. The two's behavior upsets Adelaide. Lart mentions the Marquess Philip Rodson, who left a few years ago and finally turned back, piquing Blondina's curiosity. Back in her room, Magetto pleads with the princess to never scare him the way he got when she was lost in the forest. She promises and turns to Lucy, asking her first who she likes most between Amen and Lart, and second, who she would marry between Amen and Lart. The lady-in-waiting answered first Amen, then Lart. At the palace's dungeons, Adelaide finds a blonde-haired man with golden eyes. In Blondina's room, Magetto is utterly confused. How can Lucy choose to marry Lart if she still likes Amen? She explains that even if she likes Amen, she doesn't love him, and furthermore, he is a beast and she is a human. At night, the princess thinks about the whole situation. Amen appears behind her, brightening her mood. She hugs him tight, but he separates them, way more conscious than her about the fact that they are now two grown-ups. She asks him if he got hurt during his ritual battles, and if him saving her the day before impacted it. He announces to her that he is now the leader of the Divine Leopards, so no one can dictate his behavior anymore. Somewhere in town, Philip Rodson is finally back from his studies abroad, and only thinks about meeting with Blondina. A few days later, Lart enters Blondina's room, asking her to give Lucy some free time so he can invite her to the opera. She approves, and when the prince offers to the lady-in-waiting, she looks at them, a bit jealous of their love. She thinks about Amen and mentions out loud how beasts and humans are not meant to be together due to their race difference. Amen, who is right behind her, is triggered by her words. He angrily states that this difference doesn't matter at all to him and that he didn't work this hard to be rejected like that. Blondina calms him down and goes to lay against him. As they hug, Amen asks her if she's still afraid of his appearance, which she denies. She admits being concerned at the beginning, but now she is fine, and when she mentions that she can never be afraid of him, he blushes hard and runs away suddenly, breaking the door. 2 weeks later, Blondina plays chess with Magetto. She is distracted by Amen, who's been absent since he brusquely left. Philip Rodson is announced at the door, and she lets him in. He kneels in greetings and gives her a red rose bouquet. He offers her to catch up after all this time with a walk, but she is concerned about Magetto not being able to keep his beak shut, so she dismisses the young man. He is surprised by the rejection, but complies and leaves. Blondina looks at the bouquet, not fooled by the Marquess's intentions. However, her plans are totally different as she wants Amen and humans to ally with the divine beasts. Speaking of the devil, Amen shyly shows up. She hugs him, relieved that he finally came back. He notices the bouquet and gets started out of jealousy and breaks the vase. Out of rage, he demands that she never ever let any random people enter her room. He possessively states that she is his and that her room is his territory, so he won't hesitate to rip off any intruder's throat. He calms down and lays beside her, his head on her knees, when she asks him why he doesn't turn to his human form anymore. He replies by changing form and takes her in his arms. She goes speechless in front of his inhuman beauty. He lays her on the bed, kisses her hands, arms, cheeks, jaw. Yet she is still desperately dense about his intentions, since he always acts this way in his beast form. However, she cannot deny that she feels good. Amen admits that he didn't show this form prior because he was concerned that she might be scared of him. He hugs her tight and she stops him, saying that it's enough kissing for now. Amen smirks and requires sleeping with her in her bed that night since he is in his human form, which she shyly agrees to. Facing this cute innocence, he decides to let her off the hook. For now. Elsewhere in the palace, Adelaide meets the Emperor in his office, complaining about how much she misses seeing him. He offers her to go on a trip together after the inaugural ceremony he's organizing for the divine beasts. She, not so innocently, asks why he stopped looking for the descendant of Barahan. She promises to keep going on with finding this person, which makes him remember that he was the one asking her several years ago. He considers this idea as a backup plan if Blondina fails befriending the beasts, and gives her a key. As she promises to fulfill her duty, Lart is announced and she leaves. The prince inquires about Blondina's mother, but the Emperor is not fooled and knows perfectly that Lart is here more to talk about Lucy than this woman. He encourages him to work hard to become an emperor so respected that nobody will ever dare to question his decision or steal what belongs to him. The next day, the hunting tournament takes place, held in the Divine Beasts Forest. The Emperor announces the beginning of the hunt, and Blondina gets bored, figuring that Adelaide will once again receive all the game's offers. Then, she notices Philip Rodson on his horse. The ladies are waiting together for the hunters to come back with their games, casually talking about the rest of the event. At some point, one of them mentions a large black leopard wandering around the palace lately, which triggers Blondina. Of course, they are talking about Amen, since he's not a kitten anymore. It's harder for him to hide when he sneaks in and out. Lart comes back first from the hunt and lays down a fox in front of Lucy, to everyone's utter surprise and confusion, the lady-in-waiting included. Adelaide is not having it and lectures him about his poor choice of women. In reality, she doesn't really care about who he gives his game to, but the fact that he chose Lucy, who is so close to Blondina, upsets her. Lart barely listens to her and turns back to the hunt, heavily motivated to become more powerful. Other ladies, including Adelaide, receive some game as well. Some are quite big, some are pretty small. As Blondina anticipated, nobody came to her. Nobody except one man, Philip Rodson, who bestows her a bear. The Emperor is about to announce Philip as the great winner of the tournament when Amen shows up in his beast form. He heads directly to Blondina, looking at no one else. He puts his head onto her lap and declares that he is the game she hunted. He dreamt about this day since she told him that she was not someone worthy of a game during the tournament. Everyone around is shocked by this event, but the Emperor has never been prouder of one of his children and announces her victory. Philip, while everyone congratulates the princess, is humiliated as he feels the anger grow within, directed towards the beast. Adelaide shows up to tease him about marrying her. After the tournament, Amen and Blondina act all lovey-dovey to each other in the forest. Seeing them, Lart asks Lucy if the two are dating, which the young lady is not quite sure, but supposes well. The prince remembers his past relationship with his sister and her beast, and happily realizes that this new situation between them might actually become useful for his ascension to the throne. Elsewhere, Adelaide's feelings toward her sister haven't changed a bit, and she surely assembles the pieces of her plan to destroy her and her beast. A few days later, Blondina is in her room chatting with Lucy and Magetto about the upcoming family trip. She asks the sparrow if he had seen Amen lately, to which he replies that he might be at the springs. She steps into the forest looking for her beast when she encounters Shantae, one of the leopards Amen had to fight after the coming-of-age ceremony. She appeared because she smelled Amen's scent on the princess. Blondina asks where she can find him, and Shanti answers that it's too dangerous for her to meet him currently since he is out of control. Shanti lets Blondina ride him to go find Amen in the forest. Since this is his very first interaction with a human, he's pretty excited. He keeps asking questions to the princess, especially about her relationship with Amen. When they arrive, Blondina introduces herself, allowing the beast to use her nickname. However, Amen brutally shows up and disagrees with this statement, making Shanti leave. Blondina asks him if her presence is a nuisance to him, to which he replies, transforming into his human form, inquiring about the possibility for him to finally apply his imprint on her body, so it would prove to everyone that she is his. He gets closer and closer and closer, and finally, after all this time, he kisses her. He lays her down on the ground, not parting from her lips. He admits that he is very close to losing control, despite not wanting to hurt her. He ends up hugging her in the field. Later that night in her room, she thinks about what happened in the forest. She was so sure Amen liked Lucy that all of this felt unreal to her. She dreams that she walks again in the forest, meeting a beast that looks like Amen. She gives him the ability to talk, thanks to her magic, and as she tells him her name, Lucy calls her, waking her up. Lart and her look at the princess, quite concerned about her paleness. Since the lady-in-waiting is so clever, she figured that something might have happened between Blondina and Amen. She encourages her to say more, but Lart interrupts them to talk about his stallion being ready to mate. This conversation makes Blondina realize that if she had a wonderful mating session the day before, it was just because of the mating season. Amen meets Blondina in her room. She tries to explain to him what his touchy-feely behavior towards her means in the human world, and that he should beware. However, he understands that, and to not hold a bad reputation, he has to kiss her and her only to his greatest pleasure. She laughs, and they keep on teasing each other. Elsewhere in the palace, Adelaide angrily remembers the tournament. She receives Philip Rodson and inquires about his progress on finding the temple of the founding god that will help to retrieve the descendant of Baharan. Legend says that one can use the holy spear and the golden key to enter the god's quarter, so the harp in the temple will resonate to the true descendant. Adelaide mentions that she has already found several blonde-haired, golden-eyed people, and that she only misses the temple, so the prophecy is complete. She will keep on searching until she finally finds this person. Amen, a leopard, discusses with Magetto, a sparrow, about human marriages. Actually, Amen wonders what he must do to marry Blondina so he can finally spend the night with her. Magetto offers to ask Blondina about this matter, which almost cost him to be eaten by the beast. Amen goes to find Shanti for advice. Shanti tells him how he courted Hala, talking about presents he made to her and her mother, and his boss leaves in the middle of the speech without any further explanation. He arrives at the palace in his human form and asks a servant where he can find the emperor. She's extremely impressed, but managed to indicate the building where the foreign delegation has gathered. At the building, he is led by a servant who didn't recognize him to the area where other delegates were waiting to meet the emperor. One of them introduces himself and Amen casually replies, doing the same. The man tries to give a strong handshake to Amen to show who is the boss around here, and ends up only with a broken hand. In the building, the screams of the man reached Lart, who was receiving the delegates with his father. He recognizes Amen and warns the emperor that the leader of the divine beasts is waiting with mere humans. They both go down to greet him, provoking shock around the people. A divine beast is among them. The three men are now in a private room facing each other when Amen finally speaks up to ask what he could offer to please the emperor. Surprised by the request, he answers that he would like peace and stability from the divine beasts. Because none of them knows exactly how to get it, Lart comes up with an idea. The young prince explains that in history, marriages have happened to bring stability to the empire, so that might be a good solution. His father seems doubtful at first, but Amen jumps on the opportunity to agree with the proposal, under the only conditions that Blondina wants to marry him of her own free will, without being forced, which means that they must keep it a secret from her. Later, Amen finds Blondina to spend a little time with her. They talk about the coronation day that would happen the day after. so Amun officially becomes the leader of the divine beasts. He states that he doesn't really care about all this fuss, only that the title comes with the possibility that he might do whatever he wants. Elsewhere in the palace, Adelaide meets Philip, who apparently has some very good news for her. It seems that the temple is located not far from the Imperial Palace, within the Western Forest, close to the Divine Beast's territory, which is why they never went this way before. Philip raises the question of a possible treason from the descendant of Baharan and offers a solution. The day after, people in town talk about the coronation and spread rumors about the new leader of the Divine Leopards. Black, impressive, scary, everything they can say. The parade starts, and the imperial family opens the way, riding their horses under the cheering of the people. The ceremony continues within the palace garden, everyone bowing to each other and Amun breaking the emperor's swords, as a sign of their mutual agreement to not attack and keep on with the peace between the two races. When the ceremony is over, Blondina jumps onto Amun to congratulate him, and so does Magetto. While they're being friendly with each other, as usual, rumors spread around that the princess and the beast have become closer and closer, and that the big black panther has recently paid a visit to the emperor. This perspective excites them as they might see more beasts in the future. Adelaide overhears the conversations and is utterly outraged by all this excitement, since to her, humans should not submit to the beasts. She plans to take some actions to remedy this nonsense. Lart interrupts her, mentioning how cute their sister and Amun are together. He also notifies her that she is way too obvious in her behavior and that no matter what her plans are, she may not interfere with his own plan to marry Blondina to Amun. This news shocks Adelaide, who cannot imagine a human, furthermore a princess, uniting herself to a mere animal. She rushes out of her brother's view and finds Philip. The Marquess is all smiley, bringing the greatest news to her. He has found the temple in the Western Forest. They are now facing the door of the temple, accompanied by guards and potential candidates to be the descendant of Baharan. Adelaide uses the golden key to open the door and they enter the place. Among the golden-eyed people, the first two fail to make the harp sing, but the last one surprisingly succeeds. The princess is above Cloud 9. Finally, she can achieve her dream. She tells Philip to kill the others and goes to the young man to inquire his name. Joseph. The descendant of Baharan's name is Joseph. She offers him a gemstone to swallow unless he wants to die with the others. He's scarily obliged, giving Adelaide full control over him, and so, over the divine beasts. At the palace, Amun desperately holds onto Blondina, complaining that she will leave him behind during her family trip to the Zervan Peninsula for the Ice Festival. She insists that he cannot come, giving him false excuses when in reality, she just doesn't want the imperial family or the human aristocracy to witness his heady, touchy, lovey behavior. A few days later at the peninsula, Blondina, Lart, and Lucy are having some tea together. The princess is getting quite bored of the trip, and Lart worries about Lucy, who has been sick since they left. Two young people enter the room. They introduce themselves as Ruberos and Clea de Hill, a noble family who used to make fun of Blondina when they were kids. They ask about sharing tea with the imperial siblings, and the young man looks down to Lucy, wordlessly demanding her seat. Lucy obliged, bowing to him while he sits, which deeply annoys Lart and Blondina. If the princess is about to unleash hell to Ruberos, the imperial crown prince stands to kindly offer his own seat to the lady-in-waiting and sarcastically humiliate the young man, stating that he might have a weak condition to steal a lady's seat like that. In the Divine Beast's forest, at Shanti and Hala's place, both leopards wonder why their leader has spent the last few days around, not letting them have the slightest intimate moment. When Shanti suggests that he go find his human princess, Amun jumps on the opportunity to use all his authority to order them to find where she is. Back at the peninsula's resort, the de Hill siblings are debating Clea's opportunity to seduce the prince. If Ruberos is really confident about his sister's chances, she, on the other hand, doubts a lot since she saw him with Lucy. Seeing her hopeless, he comes up with a plan to diminish the simple lady-in-waiting so Clea can shine. They both go to find Blondina in the glass house, forcefully accompanied by Lucy. Ruberos asks the princess if she would be willing to come to an exhibition they will be giving after the trip. He brags about how his family values supporting artists and asks Lucy if her family does so. Of course, he knew very well that Hariv's family could not afford to support anyone. Clea adds another layer by asking if she knows what kind of art the prince might appreciate, quoting some artists. Both siblings keep on shaming the lady-in-waiting because of her family's decline and lack of nobility, until Blondina cannot take it anymore and coldly asks if they are out of their minds. She calmly, yet with a death stare in her eyes, demands how they can insult her and her humble origins. Ruberos realizes their mistake and tries to defend themselves, but the princess is not having it. They may not have been talking to her, but they indirectly insulted her, the first daughter of the emperor. The siblings bow to her, apologetic, but Blondina takes Lucy with her and leaves, not able to stand such rudeness anymore. In the hallway, Lucy is about to cry. She apologizes to the princess for being so useless and such a nobody beside her. Blondina cheers her up, reminding her that not only is she the friend of the first daughter of the emperor, but also the friend of the future emperor and the current leader of the divine beast, and all of them deeply care for her. Lucy feels so grateful for having the chance to be the lady-in-waiting of such a great and generous princess. Ruberos and Clea have joined Adelaide and Philip in her room, ashamed of what happened with Blondina earlier. But the young princess comforts them with her usual smirk and encourages them, with her support, to teach a lesson to her sister, considering that no divine beast will be around to have her back in these lands. Philip expresses some concern about her plan, but Adelaide assures him, saying it's just a prank, nothing serious. The day after, outside in the snow, Blondina is sitting on a sled, waiting for the painter to finish portraying her. She starts to freeze in the cold when suddenly, the dogs become really aggressive, harshly barking at people. They pull the sled, Blondina still on it, heading to a frozen sea, which ice is too thin to handle the weight of a sled. Lart orders immediate rescue of his sister, not diminishing the death threat. Behind him, Adelaide, Philip, Ruberos, and Clea are utterly alarmed, knowing that all of this situation is because of them. But if the DeHill siblings worry about their fate, Adelaide, on the other hand, gloats as she may finally be rid of her annoying sister. Speaking of the sister, she is terrified, trying to stop the dogs with the kind of useless support of Magetto. She sees the water in front of her and decides that it's much more worth breaking a few bones than drowning. She then jumps out of the sled in the snow. Magetto inquires about her health, and when she tries to stand, she realizes that she didn't stand on the snow, but on the thin ice. Ice cracks and makes her fall into cold water. She sinks. She tries to grab something, yet there is nothing around she could grab. Magetto dives into the water to try to help her, but what can a little sparrow do with a heavy human? She sinks, deeper and deeper. She loses the ring Amon gave her. She thinks about him, their childhood together. She thinks about him, and he shows up in front of her, a scared expression on his face. At the resort, Lart is pacing, trying to believe that Blondina is still alive somewhere despite remaining unfound. He orders to prepare a sled for him, and Adelaide shows up, insidiously revealing that she is the mastermind behind their sister's potential death. She figures that she made him yield in front of her, as he always did, but for the first time in their life, Lart rebels and denigrates Adelaide's way of thinking and behaving. He stands his will to go find Blondina, whether Adelaide wants it or not, leaving her dumbfounded. She ragefully breaks a vase, injuring herself in the process. In her mind, Blondina has stolen everything from her. Philip enters the room and calms the princess by reminding her that only she is worthy of the throne. It seems to work because Adelaide composes herself and lets him know that as soon as the stone's power has stabilized, they will act on their plan to take the control of the beasts. The Emperor worries sick. He dismisses the servant after they let him know that Blondina is nowhere to be found. He remembers Lily, Blondina's mother, and the year he and she spent together 20 years ago. He met her in his quest to find the descendant of Baharan. However, despite her blonde hair and golden eyes, she had no power whatsoever. Yet it didn't prevent him from falling in love with this joyful woman. He was here when Blondina was born. For one entire year, he used to be happy, living as a commoner with the woman he loved. But his imperial duty reached him and Lily let him go, encouraging him to be where he belongs. From that day on and until he met Blondina, his memory kind of faded, so every time he looks at his daughter, he feels incredibly guilty for abandoning them. He tried his best to make his daughter happy at the Imperial Palace to make it up to Lily. Somewhere in a house in the forest, near the warmth of a fireplace, Amon shakes his princess to wake her up. It's this dream again. She is dying, bleeding, yet she doesn't feel sad, because she uses her magic to give the beast facing her the strength to wait for her, so they meet again in her next life. Blondina suddenly opens her eyes, not knowing if she's still dreaming or not. Amon seems on the verge of crying and brings her closer into his arms, unable to stop calling her name. Blondina remembers the situation and scolds him for coming to such a dangerous place alone. But Amon is not listening to her, only regretting that he was not able to find her sooner, because he was patiently waiting to imprint her. He tells her that he never wanted to experience the fear and despair of losing her when he learned that she was missing, and states that he decided that this will never, ever happen again. Blondina is hungry. She waits for Amon to return with food. Magetto calls her outside to show her a beautiful white leopard. Amon shows up with a bag and scolds her for being outside in the cold. He notices the creature and gets immediately upset. This time, it's the princess who lectures him about the need to be nice to any other leopard, since they are from the same species. He gives up and announces that they will leave very soon due to the Emperor and Lart searching for her in the area. The Emperor questions his decision to bring his daughter into his life, considering that it might have killed her. Someone screams Blondina's name as she appears, riding Amon in his beast form. She rushes into Lart's arms, surprised by his tears and how worried he looks. She apologizes for disappearing and teases him about his not-so-royal face. Amon notices the Emperor, who stayed back. He turns back into a human to reproach his attitude and consideration towards Blondina. The fact that he always considered her only as part of his bloodline but never acted like a father until this day. Amon coldly explains to the man how awful Blondina's childhood used to be because he never really cared for her, either before or after he took her with him and made her a princess. She only gained trauma and loneliness from these experiences, but somehow succeeds in getting over it. He enjoins him not to act like a father just in the heat of the moment, to avoid opening her old scars. However, as the Emperor feels all the regret of his decisions, he also advises him to apologize to her and beg for forgiveness. The thing is, he might never get it, since it only depends on Blondina's will to forgive him. Thankfully for the Emperor, his daughter is the kindest person on Earth. He thanks Amon for this discussion, to which the beast replies that he was not trying to be kind, and proceeds to threaten him for real. The Emperor goes to the princess, deciding to finally be the father to her. He apologizes deeply, bowing to her. She's utterly surprised. She's not ready to completely forgive since it used to be so hard for her in the past. However, she is fine with her life now. They all turn back to the resort, where Blondina receives a way warmer welcome than she expected. Lucy rushes into her arms, crying in relief. The only one who seems upset about this comeback is Adelaide. The youngest princess hasn't said her last words yet. Philip becomes more and more concerned about her sanity and questions his allegiance. A guard comes to him to let him know that he called back his soldiers who were secretly searching for Blondina. He sighs in relief as his plan keeps going on as planned. Blondina and Lucy are in the princess's room, relaxing. Seeing how much Lucy was concerned about her safety and how many other people in her surroundings were hurt, imagining that she might not have made it alive, the princess decides not to let this incident pass. Philip announces to Adelaide that all traces of their responsibility were cleaned, so as long as the DeHill siblings don't say a word, all of them are safe. Adelaide casually mentions, a crazy spark in her eyes, that she needs to kill them all, worrying Philip about who she might be talking about, the DeHills or Blondina. A servant enters the room. She lets the princess know that her sister is on her way to meet the noble siblings. She is rewarded with earrings for this report and gives Philip a hysterical smirk. Amon gives Blondina's ring back, as he found it in the ocean. He inquires where she is going and if he can come with her. Because she will be threatening people, she doesn't want him around, so she uses the endless excuse that he's too big and might frighten people. Amon is not having it and transforms into his cute little cat form. She takes him in her arms and leaves, seen by the servant. She arrives at the DeHills' apartment and sits beside them. She has no proof that they are involved in the incident, but bets on it. As she asks if they hate her, Amon turns back into his big leopard form and puts his head on her lap, showing her incredible power. She makes assumptions about what could have been their motivations, and of course, Ruberos denies everything until he lets slip a clue that not only he did it, but was ordered to. Blondina is clever enough to figure out that the true mastermind is Adlai. Amon, on the verge of losing control, pins the young man to the ground, putting just enough pressure to be a massive menace. He turns into a human and threatens the young man. When he is satisfied with his effect, he stands up and leaves with Blondina. The servant outside heard everything. She reports everything to Adlai, who gets angry. Philip advises her to get rid of the DeHills by killing them herself, as it would be way easier and more convenient than doing the same to her sister, who now got the divine beasts involved and has all the imperial family watching her. What he doesn't say is that her death would be inconvenient to his plan too. Adlai agrees and orders him to proceed. As she leaves Blondina's room, Lucy tells her that Amon is currently meeting the Emperor and Lart. She immediately thinks that they are talking about the DeHills' confession and Adlai's involvement. As her mind drifts to the Emperor's apology and how lighter she now feels after this event, Philip knocks at her door, asking for a quick audience. He apologizes for intruding so late in the evening and gives her a very expensive tea, known to help relax. She invites him to sit a little longer, and he takes the opportunity to reiterate his offer to join the Rodson family for her own sake and protection. As offended as she feels, she politely declines again, telling him to focus on stopping Adlai instead of courting her uselessly. He attacks by threatening her relationship with the divine beasts, reminding her that a very specific someone can take control over them, and letting her know that she just wasted her last chance to be safe. After he leaves, she thinks about this weird conversation. The man who was standing in front of her a moment ago was not the Philip she used to know, and she wonders what was this obsession with the beasts. As she burns his presence, she swears to become the powerful person she needs to be for her people. The day after, the whole imperial court heads back to the capital. Lucy sits beside Blondina, suffering from motion sickness. When they arrive at a resting area, Lart inquires about Lucy's health and offers so much support one would be blind not to see his level of affection. Blondina notices the DeHill siblings nearby, heading outside of the area into the woods. Clea is concerned about their situation, so Ruberos tries to assure her they will be meeting Adlai, who promised her help. However, he's deeply worried as well, not knowing if he should believe the princess or fear her. The knight who leads them quickly answers the question as he is joined by others, surrounding the two young nobles. It has now become clear that they are both to be executed, right here, right now. Ruberos pulls out his sword but cannot do anything to protect himself or his sister. Before he dies, he curses Adlai. Lart announces the news to Blondina, Lucy, and Amon. The assassination has been made up into an accident for random people, but it is seen as a suicide by the few ones who knew how involved they were with Blondina's murder attempt. The princess quickly rethinks the whole situation and feels something is off. She rushes to the cliff where the siblings were found, closely followed by Amon. They find Clea's glove in the snow, which is a clue that they might not have jumped out of their will. Amon smells the glove. It is full of reminiscence of the herbs used on the dogs. Due to his reaction, they figure that the quantity used a few days before might have been huge. However, a simple glove is not sufficient evidence to prove that they were partially guilty of this crime and were murdered by the true perpetrator. Blondina resigns and asks for Amon's help. Adlai presents her condolences to the DeHill Duchess and offers to sponsor the remaining heir of the family to honor the memory of his siblings. She leaves in her carriage, trying to convince herself that it was the only right thing to do and that she needs to move on with this plan. The carriage brutally stops and Blondina enters, accompanied by Amon. The beast leaves the two sisters alone, taking a seat near the coachman. Adlai violently pushes Blondina and insults her, making Amon hit the carriage as a reminder that he is not far. However, the young man is barely able to control his rage, only restraining because his princess asked him to. This move allows Blondina to take control of the discussion. She shows her sister a pouch and asks if it contains the herbs she gave to the DeHills. Adelaide stresses at the sight of it, which encourages Blondina to keep going with her bluff. She advances that the two young people left this evidence in the glove they found on the cliff, which incriminates her since they used to be her followers. Adelaide's reaction proves to her sister that she was indeed the mastermind. But the youngest princess composes herself back and smirks because she realized that Blondina has no true evidence, since she is confident in the fact that Ruberos used all the stimulants, so the pouch might not even be the right one. Her sister then threatens to use the content of her pouch on the horses. After all, if there's no herb remaining, or if she's really innocent, then Adelaide has nothing to fear. But Adelaide fears. She has no idea if her sister bluffs or if she is serious. Blondina gives up, having all the information she needed. She explains that despite all she thinks, she has never stolen anything from her and that she needs to stop with her dangerous behavior. She lets her know that she is aware that Adelaide is after the divine beasts, which means that not only Blondina has never been the one who encroaches on her territory, but that Adelaide starts to encroach on hers. Before leaving the carriage in Amon's arms, Blondina warns her sister one last time. She needs to take responsibility before it's too late. Adelaide enrages and screams that she will never stop. Amon gallops in the snow, Blondina on his back. He stops when he sees her, concerned about really having ruined her sister's life. In the end, she is just happy that her plan to bust her up has worked. Amon encourages her to get some rest while he takes her to a very special place. She wakes up in a field full of beautiful pink flowers. Amon shows up in his human form. He explains that he passed by this place when he was heading to the peninsula and wanted to show it to her first. He puts a flower crown on her head as a present and confesses his love before kissing her. Adelaide is in her room, drinking tea by herself, thinking again about what happened in the carriage. She wonders how Blondina could have brought up Philip in this story without having officially met him since the hunt. Speaking of the devil, as she was weighing the possibility to get rid of him, he enters the room, bringing excellent news. Joseph has finally developed his ability to control the beasts. He leads her to him when her spy servant shows up asking for an audience. The servant is pretty nervous. She hesitates a lot and ends up dropping that she wants to quit spying. Adelaide doesn't understand her reasons since she pays her very well for this job. The young woman thinks about the DeHills incident and how she might have been indirectly involved, which made her realize that her life was actually in danger around the princess. She uses her mother being sick as an excuse and promises to never tell a soul about her mistress's secrets. Against all odds, Adelaide seems pretty understanding, until she turns mad again. She orders Philip to kill the servant, not believing her oath to keep quiet, and the man obliged, under the screams. In the forest, Joseph still trains to use his power. In a pit in front of him, there is a leopard trapped. He hopes to control it enough to finally get out of his poor situation. Adelaide arrives, excited to see how powerful he has become. Joseph asks Adelaide if he would die in case of failure. He explains that Philip told him that the magic stone he swallowed gave Adelaide full power over his life. She smiles and informs him that as long as he cooperates with her, he has nothing to fear. The Marquess finally arrives, so they can start with the test. They walk inside the Divine Beast forest, where Joseph doesn't feel calm despite all the precautions to not be spotted. They finally find a sleeping beast surrounded by butterflies. Adelaide encourages Joseph to use his talent. He stresses a bit but succeeds in controlling the beast. He orders it to rip off the butterflies and it complies. When he wants to try more, he loses control as he is not strong enough yet. Adelaide is half satisfied and half disappointed because even if he actually has the ability and thus can get her what she wants, he still has a long way to go. She compliments Joseph for his hard work and promises a reward once they get back to the palace. They start to head back when the beast they controlled a bit earlier gets in their way, angry to have been controlled. It is roaring in rage, reminding those humans that they bowed to the leaders of the beasts, only to stab them in the back with the descendant of Baharam. The archer shot at it uselessly, and Philip interfered to protect Adelaide, who is anything but not impressed. She brags about getting back what belongs to her, which angers the beast even more and makes it attack the princess. Joseph, who was just here, scared for his life as it is linked to Adelai's, succeeds in using his power to defeat it. He tries even more by making it stand and pay its respect. He exults, realizing that not only can he now control the body, but also the mind of the beast. Adelai, behind him, comes to the same conclusion and bursts into a hysterical laugh. Blondina and Amon are both sitting around a table, her trying to organize an upcoming ball and him getting bored of all this. She scolds him because it is a very important event to support the friendship between humans and beasts. He is about to kiss her when Lucy and Magetto storm into the room, grapes in hand. They all take a break, casually chatting about the ball preparation, when Lucy suddenly asks Amon if he knows about the etiquette, and of course, he doesn't have a clue what she's talking about and doesn't care. She argues that if nobody would say anything to his face, they might mock and belittle Blondina instead for his lack of manners. She qualifies human aristocracy as an unpredictable jungle that you have to play their game to not be eaten. Despite not understanding that he should care about mere humans' opinions, Blondina agrees with her lady-in-waiting and shows him some basic dining rules. He is still not convinced, and she starts to give up. But not Lucy. She is determined to preserve her mistress's dignity and keeps pointing at her. Thankfully, it took him a while, but he finally understands what she means and immediately straightens up on his seat. Blondina is utterly impressed, and Lucy is happy to start the training. Amon barely listens to Blondina, who tries to explain the functions of the various glasses and cutlery he can find on the table. He bites her cheek, embarrassing her as Lucy and Magetto are still here, observing the lesson. Magetto attacks Amon, convinced that he tried to actually eat the princess. Lucy takes the bird elsewhere, leaving the two alone for a moment. And of course, Amon takes advantage of the situation to hug Blondina. When Lucy comes back, Amon and Blondina are desperate. Her because he doesn't seem up to learning, and him because he cannot wait to be married and definitely have her. Both ladies decide that it's time to change the topic and start dancing lessons, with Lucy handling it. As they practice, despite their obvious indifference towards each other, Blondina cannot help but feel jealous of their proximity. Someone else sitting next to her is also super jealous. Lart, who joined a few moments ago. He jumps off his seat and offers to be Amon's teacher. They take it super seriously, but the ladies have a very good time watching them. At night, Amon asks for compliments about his new skills from Blondina, who obliged happily. He takes her hand and pulls her closer to his body, almost hugging her. Amon holds Blondina close in his arms and starts dancing with her, showing all the moves he learned with Lart earlier. There may be no music to accompany, but none of them seem to care, only enjoying the beauty of being alone, looking into each other's eyes, dancing under the moonlight. Blondina remembers what she felt when they first met, how she had always felt about him. He confesses his love and asks her to love him back, to which she replies with a smile on her face that she will always be by his side, as it's where she belongs. He seems surprised at first, but is utterly touched and clearly speechless. He hugs and kisses her endlessly, happier than ever. Blondina dreams again about this beast who looks like Amon and this young woman who looks like her. They both chat about some people coming, people that the beast doesn't like. As they are hugging, Blondina wakes up from this dream, called by Lucy. The lady-in-waiting enjoins the princess to get ready, as this day is a very special day, since it's Amon's party. For the occasion, Blondina dresses up in her most stunning and fabulous gown. The ball is simply astonishing. The emperor obviously put a lot of effort into the preparation, and Amon even came up with a masquerade idea so everyone can chat with whomever they want, without any consideration for race, age, or social rank. She spots Amon discussing very casually to the emperor and Lart, which intrigues her since they've never really been close. A strange man comes to talk to Blondina, and she recognizes him as a divine beast in his human form. He keeps on asking weird questions about her smell and what race her and Amon's future child will be, human or divine beast. Another beast pulls his ear to make him shut, as he makes the princess incredibly uncomfortable. She introduces them as Hala and Shanti, this one also proudly introducing the baby she carries as Zen. They leave a very puzzled Blondina, who remembers them as little kittens who were with Amin at the coming of age ceremony not so long ago, and now they're expecting a baby. She thinks about Amin behaving like a spoiled kitten the day before, and she finally starts to wonder whether or not they are in a relationship. The Emperor interrupts the party to raise a toast to the new friendship between humans and beasts, celebrating a brighter future for both races. After his speech, Adelaide comes to him to congratulate him on managing to have the beast under control. Her father makes her shut, as she uses very controversial wordings. He explains to her that even though he used to think like her, he changed his mind and preferred to choose peace. He also mentions that because Blondina was the architect of all this situation, preserving this relationship was her role, and Adelaide needed to figure out what her own role was. Adelaide joins Philip to indicate to him a change of plan and to demand to Joseph that he gets in position to act. Meanwhile, at the party, Shanti enjoys all the food he can find. Hala, on the other hand, chooses this moment to talk to Amin about some recent disappearances among the beasts. She also mentions a distortion she felt in the forest. She put that on her pregnancy, but still feels off about the forest. Amin agrees, as he went every night into the forest, only to find it weirdly silent and full of ripped-off butterflies. Furthermore, he trusts Hala's feelings, as they were always trustworthy. He is distracted by some random humans bad-mouthing beasts. Amin allows Shanti to put on a show to snub them all and remind whoever needs it of the power of his kind. He puts on the most serious look on his face and grabs one of the humans by the throat with one hand, threatens him, and throws him on the ground. As he turns back to Amin and Hala, something changes within him. Something that Hala and Blondina can feel. He changes to his beast form and heads threateningly to the Emperor. In a corner, Adelaide orders Joseph to attack the Emperor with the beast. Shanti was unconsciously very close to killing him, but Amin arrives just in time to grab him by the head and stop the attack. The Emperor is now sitting on the ground, Shanti above him confused, with a lot of halberds pointed at him. While Hala scolds her future baby daddy for his behavior, Amin asks the Emperor if he is fine. The other human attacked by Shanti loudly protests, demanding the beast to take responsibility for their actions. Surprisingly, it's the Emperor himself who defends his new friends. He explains to the Marquess that his role is to protect his people, him included, and that he would never hesitate to betray the beasts as needed. However, he would never if they attacked because of humans. Shanti, feeling better, intervenes to apologize and lighten everyone's mood. Still, Amin is concerned about what happened. Adelaide congratulates Joseph for his outstanding performance. She encourages him to keep on practicing to become even stronger and control the Black Beast, and asks him to only be loyal to her. The Emperor is getting healed because of an injury he got by falling. Hala, witnessing this, scolds Shanti even more, to which the poor beast answers that he had no idea what happened, as he was just playing until someone messed up with his mind. This triggers Amin, who rushes to examine Shanti. He indeed noticed that his friend's eyes change colors to turn the same as Blondina's ones for a second. He plans to ask Elder Aisha, who is the oldest beast in the clan, if she knows something about this phenomenon. He goes to Blondina to hug her and get back to the party. A bit later, Amin and Blondina are both resting after dancing. She praises his new skills and jokes about him almost passing off as a human. He sits her on the balcony railing and seems suddenly a bit off. She encourages him to tell her what is going on, so he breathes out, quickly explains that despite all the coaching he got from Lart and the Emperor, he has always been direct to her, and finally he asks the question, "Will you marry me?" She looks at him with stupor at first, then laughs, realizing her own cluelessness, and says yes. Lart coughs, embarrassed. He apologizes for the interruption and lets them know that the Emperor is waiting for them to make a very important announcement. To Blondina's surprise, Amin agrees to go there instead of throwing a tantrum for being interrupted. Inside the palace, everyone has taken off their masks. The emperor publicly congratulates his daughter for her engagement and wishes her all the best. Amin suggests raising a toast, followed by the emperor, so everyone in the room raises their glass to the newly betrothed. Blondina is confused, not only about the situation, but also by Amin's reaction to it. She plays along and asks him if by any chance he knew something about this plan. He proudly answers that he organized it with the emperor and Lart. When she asked what would happen if she had said no, he affirms that he knew she would have accepted because they confessed before. This is when she realizes that he was never playing along. Elder Aisha comes to congratulate them. As she starts to expose Amin, he interrupts her by mentioning that he would come to her soon to discuss. She thanks Blondina for all her effort in building peace and leaves. The princess notices her sister behind her, devilishly smirking, making her suspicious. Later that night, Amin joins Blondina in her room, ready for some sport. After that night, Blondina had to stay in her bed for an entire day, sick because of the impregnation. When she gets better, Amin keeps on turning around her, worried, so she suggests going out to take some fresh air during a walk. He thinks about the garden, but she has another idea. They are both strolling down the alleys of the city market. Amin is still concerned, but Blondina lives the time of her life, hidden under her cape. She spots some necklaces for dogs and cats. She mentions to the merchant having a black cat that she would love to give a necklace to, but since he's really picky, she hesitates. When she finally decides to take one, Amin jumps in to buy two. She asks why two, and he answers that there is one for him and one for their future kitten, while making a naughty joke. She sees two happy kids playing in the streets, who remind her of Amin and her when they were kids playing together. She realizes how much happiness being with him brought into her life, and promises him to stay with him forever. He also remembers what his life used to be before and after he met Blondina, from miserable to belonging. On their way back to the palace, Amin lets Blondina know that the day before he would meet up with Elder Aisha and to fulfill his duty as leader of the divine beasts. In the forest, Aisha meets Ravi, one of the missing beasts. She immediately notices the color of his eyes, proving that he was under control. She asks who does that, and Joseph shows up, revealing himself, followed by Adelaide. Aisha is appalled to see the human princess, because it implies that humans want to start a new war. She encourages the young princess to turn back to where she belongs before she suffers even more with losses and regrets. Adelaide touches Joseph's shoulder in a sign of action, while affirming that she will never have any regrets as everything will return to its right place. Aisha resists the young man's power, enough to make him doubt his abilities. Adelaide notices him struggling and glares at him, implying that he would die in case of failure. He changes plans to use Ravi to attack the elder, who can barely defend herself. Amin and Blondina are hugging in her bed. She fights against sleep and asks Amin if he thinks she really stole everything from Adelaide, and wonders what she could have done to make her sister bully her directly and go so far out of the way. Finally, she falls asleep, promising Amin that she would protect him no matter what. After kissing her on the forehead, he leaves to meet the elder. Blondina dreams again about this lady who looks like her. A blonde-haired man with golden eyes approaches her, calling her Rafian. His name is Baharan, and both of them are deities who brought peace within humans. But the war has started again, so she gives him her sword, full of her power, so he can use it to bring back peace to the continent. After promising that he would fight alongside humans, he leaves, and the beast shows up. He tells her to give up her power as she fulfilled her duty to make the land beautiful and livable, so she can finally rest. She asks him if he would still love her as a mortal. He transforms into his human form, perfect doppelganger of Amin, and declares that no matter what shape or form she might be, she will always be herself and he would always love her. Rafian feels happy. She puts her hand on the beast's forehead to give him the rest of her power. Baharan appears, outraged that she would land the power of a god to a mere beast and become mortal. He asks her why she gave him her sword if she plans to run away from her godly duties, to which she replies that not only she is tired of being a god, but also she sent him to give humankind a final blessing, as they are mature enough not to need them any longer. But Baharan is not ready to give up on his ruler role over humans. He blames the beast for poisoning Rafian's mind and jealously stabs him with the sword. The beast rolls on the ground, barely able to stand anymore. As the god is about to finish him, Rafian uses her remaining power to stop him and is ready to give him what he wants. The beast notices Blondina, shocked behind, and calls her for help, which wakes her up, tears in her eyes and confusion in her mind. She barely remembers her dream, only the look in the beast's eyes when he called her. She wonders if she has these dreams because she worries about Adelaide and plans to go talk to her as soon as possible. The next morning, Lart is in her apartment, talking about his plans for the next edition of the hunting ceremony. But Blondina is no fool and asks directly why he is really here with her, so early in the morning, when he is supposed to be busy and considering that Lucy won't show up until the afternoon. The young prince is suddenly really uncomfortable, remembering Amin passing by his room the night before to demand that he stick to the princess while he would be gone. And of course, she must know nothing about it. He jabbers about whatever excuse, and she gives up, hoping that Lucy might keep him busy while she goes to talk to Adelaide. About their sister, Blondina asks Lart about the relationship they used to have when they were kids. He surprises her by explaining that they weren't as close as she imagined, because Adelaide was only showing up when the Emperor was here or during social events. Otherwise, he used to be alone. He inquires about why she's curious about it, and she honestly replies that she wants to know why Adelaide hates her this much, considering that Lart was the one bullying her hard and not the young girl, who has always been measured. Lart mentions the time he spotted a conversation with Adelaide and the Emperor about finding the descendant of Baharan. He affirms that this is the moment she changed personality, and that despite the Emperor's plans changing, she kept this mission in mind. Blondina connects the dots between this information and all the recent events, and snaps when she realizes that Adelaide might have already found the descendant of Baharan. She gets up brutally and enjoins Lart to come with her to talk to their sister in this instant. However, he interrupts her, with the will to talk to her first, pretending that she would more likely listen to him since they grew up together, when in reality, he just feels guilty for not stopping her prior. Adelaide and Joseph are still in the forest. He estimates having now the ability to control up to 20 beasts, and Adelaide seems pretty satisfied with this number. She turns back to the palace, tired, and when he tries to follow her, he hears a voice behind him, affirming that he is way more powerful than he thinks he is. The voice also enjoins him to go find something in the temple if he wants to increase his ability, so Joseph repeats it to the princess. At the palace, they meet Lart in front of Adelaide's room. He asks her to take some tea with him since they haven't done that in a very, very, very long time. She agrees, and while she walks to her room, Lart asks who is the man accompanying her, who doesn't look like a mere servant. He also asks if she has truly found the descendant of Baharan, to which she replies that she did, with a smile on her face. He tries to convince her about the lack of meaning of her actions since humankind and beasts have finally come to peace thanks to the treaty. But she doesn't hear him and keeps on exposing her idea that to bring peace to the Empire, humans must have all power over the beasts, and to allow that, she will become Empress. Lart is flabbergasted, but composed himself back and lets her know how dangerous he thinks she is and that no matter what, he will prevent her from becoming Empress. He stands that other than the descendant of Baharan, who is pretty much no one, she has no plan nor support to access the throne, when he is going along with their father's politics and has Blondina with the divine beasts by his side. He warns her to stop this instant, so everything would be forgotten and they can move on. She has 24 hours to decide before he takes actions to protect the ones he loves from her madness. After he leaves, Adelaide urges Joseph to come with her, taking advantage of this window Lart offers her before he goes to the Emperor. The prince turns back to Blondina's room, only to discover that she left for the beast's forest. And so did Adelaide. Trigger warning. This part contains a lot of violence that might not be suitable for a young audience. Blondina paces in her room, concerned about Adelaide and her plans. Magetto storms through the window, crying in panic, mentioning that the beasts are trapped in a pit and need help. The princess rushes to the forest, led by the little sparrow. They find Aisha trapped, and Blondina asks her, horrified, how she ended up like this. To which the elder answers that Adelaide did this, with the support of the descendant of Barahan. She warns the young human about the consequences if they keep pursuing this way and begs for help, as soon enough, even Amun won't be able to defeat them anymore. She talks about the sword and of the original god, then feels people coming and urges Blondina to run and hide. However, the young princess protests as she doesn't want to abandon the elder. Someone, Lart, catches her from behind and drags her behind a tree, out of sight of Adelaide, Joseph, and Philip. They both stay to listen to the trio talking about their plan and about finding a sword the voice inside Joseph's mind mentioned, which confirms to Blondina that not only the sword is real, but also that it might be the one she sees in her dreams, and that Joseph actually hears Barahan's voice. After they leave, Blondina urges Lart to go talk to their father about the whole situation, so they can make up a plan to protect the people while she takes care of other urgent matters. As Amun searches the forest, he finds a bloody piece of clothing that smells like Aisha, which is confirmed by Shanti, who also recognizes another smell he sent at the ball. Amun furiously clenches his fist, understanding that someone is messing with his territory. At the temple, Philip informs Adelaide that he won't enter the place and instead keeps his eyes open in case Lart makes a move. She agrees and he leaves, accompanied by his guards, preparing something suspicious that seems not part of the plan. Adelaide and Joseph enter the temple. She worries about him becoming someone completely different from the shy and scared boy he used to be a few months prior. She fears that he might have become out of control. He activates his powers to get the sword, takes it, and announces that time has come to action the plan. As she realizes what has just happened, Amun, Shanti, and Hala show up in their beast form, angrier than ever. Adelaide panics, but Barahan, through Joseph's body, grins in satisfaction as he will finally be able to get rid of the Black Beast. Amun threatens Joseph without knowing that it's actually Barahan in charge. The man is not scared one bit and attacks with the sword first. Then, when Amun mentions how useless this weapon is, with Shanti and Hala under his control. Both leopards bite their leader to the blood, and even if Amun could actually defeat them both, he has no will to do it as it might also injure their baby. Adelaide behind Joseph exults as her plan is back on track. Amun resists the best he can, and when he is close to failing, Rothian shows up in his mind to encourage him. He mistakes her for Blondina, but it's enough to snap him out of control. Joseph is taken aback by his lack of influence on the Black Leopard, and Adelaide shakes him to make them leave to pursue the plan and end the lives of people that are getting in their way. Amun tries to prevent them, but is attacked again by Shanti and Hala. Blondina screams in the forest looking for Amun. Of course, she cannot find him, but ends up meeting someone unexpected, Philip. He explains to her that if she doesn't run away, she will die because Adelaide would have her head the moment she becomes empress. But she doesn't care. To Blondina, only the safety of her people, humans or beasts, matter. He admits that this is the perseverance and pride that made him fall in love with her in the first place, and encourages her once more to run away while she still can. Facing another refusal, one of his guards hits her, making her fall unconscious. At the palace, Lart storms into the Emperor's office and lets him know that Adelaide has found the descendant of Barahan and is currently heading there with the beasts under control. After almost fainting under the shock and hearing Lart calling him for help, he takes the situation in hand and orders to evacuate the people as he leads the Imperial army. While Lart is ordering everyone in the palace, two servants show him a little talking sparrow. The prince recognizes Magetto, who tells him that Blondina has been kidnapped by Philip. They hear a massive bang, and Amen, enraged, threatening, deadly, asks him to repeat what he just said. Magetto flies to the beast and gives more details about the kidnapping, so Lart and Amen can identify that Philip is the perpetrator, even though it doesn't make sense to them. Amen asks Magetto to lead the way to Blondina and leaves. The Emperor comes to Lart to inquire about the commotion. The young prince explains everything that just happened. Then a guard interrupts them to let them know that Adelaide has arrived at the palace. The princess searches the palace looking for her absent sister. She figures that Lart might have hidden her away. Philip arrives, apologizing for being late due to him getting lost on his way back. Adelaide then realizes that the lord facing her is also a suspect in Blondina's sudden disappearance. He lets her know about the situation in the palace, and she asks Joseph to dispatch beasts to hunt down Blondina since she mustn't have gone this far. The Emperor shows up and straight away asks Adelaide if she has really found the descendant of Barahan. She reminds him of the promise she made when she was a kid, and he congratulates her for fulfilling her family's duty. However, he explains that he was wrong and that using this power was not the solution to bring peace. So as an apology, he pulls out his sword to attack Joseph. Adelaide puts herself between the two men to prevent her father from killing and threatens him with the beasts. She leaves crying, persuaded to act rightfully so she can finally go back to the peace she had when she was a kid. Or not. In a carriage far away from the palace, Blondina is awake and struggles to untie herself. When she finally succeeds, one of Philip's servants tells her that they need to change carriage, so she uses her authority to earn some time by asking questions. A guard arrives and threatens her with his sword to make her move. She knocks him off and runs away. She is chased by the guards and someone catches her. As she flounders to escape, she recognizes Amen's voice trying to calm her down. Blondina cries in his arms, relieved that he is doing fine since she thought Adelaide hurt him. He understands that his princess is not injured and turns to the guard and the servant to interrogate them about Philip. Blondina tries to prevent him, saying that they have no time as her sister might already be in the palace, but Amen doesn't listen and proceeds anyway. At the palace, Adelaide is informed by Joseph that Blondina is nowhere to be found. She hears and sees everyone fighting outside, including her father and brother, but can only think that her sister is not there. Philip enters her room, acting all sweet and charming, but she throws the truth at him. He is the one who hides Blondina. He grins, pulls out his sword and walks to her, explaining that if he was fine with her plan at first, he changed his mind somewhere in the middle, and while he places his blade under her throat, says that he would rather take the crown from her instead of becoming a consort. To do so, he gave her a fake magic stone to swallow. Philip also lets her know that he is the one who ate the real one and takes the opportunity to tell Joseph that if he dares to attack and kill him, he will die too. He finally announces to the princess that she lives her last moments, and that he will allow her to have them with the family members that she cherishes, and pushes her through the window behind. Lart hears Joseph calling her and sees his sister. As she falls, Adelaide suddenly realizes that she would be better off dead and accepts her fate. The Emperor manages to catch her before she reaches the ground. Joseph faces Philip, but there's no Joseph within his body anymore. He informs Philip that he never swallowed the stone and that he can never have any power over a deity like him. The young man understands that something is wrong and tries to defend himself. However, Barahan manages to stab him with his own sword. He heads to the window and enjoys the carnage below. Someone yells that Princess Blondina has arrived with Amen. Lart goes to the couple and holds his sister, relieved that she is alive and safe. She hugs him back, feeling the same about him. Amen inquires about the Emperor and Adelaide when Barahan shows up, mentioning that the princess died a meaningless death. He introduces himself as the ancient god and calls Blondina Lafian, making Amen protest, as the goddess passed away a long time ago and did not reincarnate into the young human. Barahan launches two beasts against them. Amen heads to the god, avoiding his possessed friends, and Lart protects Blondina, who feels guilty and useless. Barahan appears behind her and takes her by the throat. Amen jumps furiously to them, but is blocked by the other beasts. Barahan keeps on choking Blondina, asking the uncontrolled beast to wait for his turn. When he feels something stabbing him, the princess has taken his sword and managed to stab him in the chest. The diversion works since Barahan drops her to the ground, shocked by the fact that his body is actually mortal. Amen takes the opportunity to attack and bites his arm, nearly enough to rip it off before being held back by the beasts again. Blondina coughs, wondering what she can do to save Amen, who is in great danger facing the god. She notices Rafian's sword nearby and tries to go get it. Unfortunately, her legs seem paralyzed and she cannot move. She hits them, ordering them to move so she can help Amen, the same way he always helped her in the past. She remembers the ring impregnated with his power and how she absorbed it when she was in danger. While Barahan keeps on bragging about finally being able to kill this beast he hates so much, she grabs his hand, distracting him, and starts to absorb his power. When he realizes what is happening, Barahan grabs her by the hair, trying to push her away, but she holds on tight, her eyes turning golden. Amen jumps one last time at the god, fatally injuring him this time. He then rushes to Blondina's arms, hugging her in relief. As she feels the happiness of saving the one she loves, Barahan gets up and stabs. Nor Barahan nor Amen can believe what just happened. The beast feels Blondina loosening her grip around him and falling, dying as she just stood to protect him one last time by taking the sword in her chest. She looks him in the eyes, caresses his cheek, tells him how much she loves him and how happy she is to share her last moment with him. Then finally, she closes her eyes to not open them anymore. Barahan observes the scene from afar, astonished that killing the princess didn't bring back his powers. Lart stabs him in the back, looking deadlier than ever with his cold eyes and blood all over his face, enjoining the god to just die. Lart rushes to Amen to inquire about Blondina. When he sees him petrified, tears in the eyes, holding the bloody corpse of his sister, he realizes what happened. Despite the shock, he notices Rafian's sword is still glowing. He picks it up and tries to wake Amen up from his trance, mentioning that if Blondina is indeed the reincarnation of the original god, then maybe the sword might help them to get her back from the dead. He takes it, and Rafian appears out of nowhere, shining, smiley, happy to see her favorite kitty cat again. She confirms that despite Blondina holding her powers, they are not the same person, and Amen is not the beast she used to love. However, she gives him what remains of her powers and tells him to rush to the springs to find what he looks for and finally be happy. Amen runs through the forest like he never ran before, carrying Blondina in his arms, begging her to hold on just a little longer. When he arrives at the springs, he lays her in the water and tells her the story about this place, the tradition, and how it impacts him because of Rafian and her beast's love. He puts his forehead onto hers, promising to save her thanks to the power she gave him before saying one last time, "I love you." Rafian and her kitty cat are chatting by the springs about humans believing in destiny. The beast finds it annoying, but the goddess actually loves the idea and promises him that no matter how many times she will reincarnate, she will always find him and love him. Blondina wakes up from this dream. She sits up quickly after realizing that she is alive in the springs and not dying at the palace, and wonders what might have happened. She hears a growl behind her and sees Amen getting closer. She first apologizes to him, but quickly notices something wrong. He's weirdly aggressive. He growls one more time, then runs away. At the palace, a few times after the battle, Shanti and Lart seal a contract they both made up to ensure peace between their people. Beasts will protect humans, and humans will never search for the descendant of Barahan anymore. This deal calmed every tension, and soon enough, everything went back to normal. Adalai survived her fall thanks to her father. For all her actions, she suffered a severe leg injury and an exile sentence. The emperor comes to say goodbye as she leaves the palace for her new home. She asks why he didn't just let her die as she is responsible for everything, and he answers that he couldn't because she is his beloved daughter, and he is deeply sorry for encouraging her down the wrong path, creating a split between his children. She leaves, wishing him all the happiness in the world and begging him to forget about her, as she was a massive disappointment. When she arrives at her place of exile, a blonde-haired, golden-eyed kid welcomes her. She asks for his name, Louis, and kindly smiles at him. A few months later, the empire prepares for Lart's coronation as the new emperor of Athens. Magetto takes his protector's role over a pregnant Blondina very seriously. The coronation goes well. Lart moves to his father on the red carpet, looking more imperial than ever. The now ex-emperor puts his crown on his son's head, and everyone cheers for the new leader of the Attis Empire. At the back of the crowd, Blondina smiles, happy for her brother, yet feels empty inside. Nothing has ever been the same since she lost Amin. After he ran away, she pursued him, only to find out horrified that he had forgotten everything, including her. Ever since, she left the palace and stayed at his place in the forest in case he would turn back. This is where she found out she was pregnant with his child and announced it to Lart and Lucy, who were ecstatic. She arrives at her new home after the coronation and notices Amin outside. She runs after him and tries to talk to him, but he growls and runs away again. He wonders who this girl is and why he is so obsessed with her since he met her at the springs. But most importantly, he wonders why his heart aches when he thinks about her. Since he doesn't understand those emotions going through him, he decides not to approach the girl and stay as far as possible from this moment on. And this is very decided that he, on the contrary, keeps peeking at her again and again, day after day, figuring that she might know the reason why he doesn't not succeed to stay away. One day, she is picnicking outside her house and she notices him. He decides to give it a shot, still defiant, but really curious at why she looks at him with love in her eyes. Lart and Lucy appear and ask why she is sitting on the ground like that, to which she shows them Amin hidden in the bushes. She takes the basket they brought her and makes them turn back to the palace, since Amin is now here to protect her. They grudgingly obliged, mentioning that there would always be a place for her with them and that they would come back soon to check on her. Amin gets closer and peeks at the basket, wondering how she can survive and be strong with such poor food. She takes this opportunity to pet him, which startles him. He blushes, but leaves angrily anyways, while she screams that she will keep on waiting for him. The day after, Blondina wakes up and exits her house to find a dead boar in front of her door. She quickly figures out that Amin is the culprit of this offering, and he comes to her, asking to be pet like she did before. She happily obliged. A few moments later, the doctor comes to check on Blondina's pregnancy and faces a pretty territorial Amin. After he leaves, she explains to him that he was there to prepare her for their big day. He is confused at first, not having a clue about what she implies, so she tells him about the baby and that he is the father. His lack of reaction upsets Magetto, who attacks and insults him. At night, Blondina heads to the springs, with Amin following her. She sits on the ground and invites him to sit by her side. She explains that she always felt weird in this place because of everything that happened there. She apologizes that she will be selfish by trying to use Rafian's powers to bring back his memory, and puts her forehead onto his, like he did to revive her. He changes into his human form, tears in his eyes. She looks at him, scared that it might not have worked, but he asks, does he deserve to be by her side when he let her down so many times up to the point she died? She smiles and hugs him, reassuring him by saying that she is fine now. It's all thanks to him. They lay in their bed. She tells him the latest news, but he barely listens, only focused on his own kid. She tells him that she waited for him to come back to name their child. Once again, he tries to apologize for his behavior, but she cuts him up by thanking him for being with her again. At the palace, Amin must now face Lucy's rage. If Blondina doesn't hold any grudge, it's not the case for her former lady-in-waiting and future sister-in-law. The most powerful beast of all time has never in his life been this scared of anyone before. So did Lart, quite concerned about his future wife. Lart suddenly kidnaps Amen, leaving Lucy and Blondina alone to discuss their dream wedding since they are both engaged. After admitting that she would love to have a simple, intimate wedding, Blondina sees her friend rushing to Lart, confirming something. Lart then drags Amen to the former emperor, who seems also part of some dark plan, which annoys the beast. A few days later, Amen turns home late to an upset princess. He admits that he has been out at the palace so much lately to prepare for their wedding. She is shocked at first, but is in the end really happy that he is still considering marrying her. 3 days later, she prepares herself with Lucy. Blondina thanks her friend for always being with her since their childhood and for planning such a wonderful wedding. Blondina finds Amen in the garden. The beast's jaw drops when he sees his bride, and after recomposing himself, he takes her hand and they finally go to their wedding ceremony. Under the eyes of her father, Lart, Lucy, Aisha, Hala, Shanti, and Zen, Blondina and Amen exchange their vows to support and love each other until death do them part, the same they did hundreds of years ago. Wow, this series is very popular. Why should we end the fun then? Are you ready for some bonus chapters? Please like our content and subscribe to our channel to keep on supporting us. Here we go! The newlywed couple goes for a walk in the palace as Blondina needs to exercise. As she scolds Amen for being too overprotective, she notices Magetto in a corner, visibly feeling upset. She asks him what is wrong, and he expresses his concerns about being too loud, too talkative, which leads him to ask the princess if she will still love him anymore once the baby is born. He mentions that Shanti and Hala changed as much as everyone around him once they had a baby, so he is scared to end up left out. She reassures him because Magetto was actually there for her when she was in trouble or needed someone, so how can she neglect him? Magetto apologizes to the baby for his jealousy, then starts a new argument with Amen. Later that night, Blondina regrets her lack of attention towards Magetto, telling her that she is the most careful person he has ever met and that she shouldn't be sad, or the baby will be as well. She smiles and mentions that considering the kicks, they will meet their child very soon. Amen worries. His own mother died giving him birth because of his powers, and he is scared that his princess might be too fragile to handle delivering a divine beast like him. She comforts him, showing off her magic, which makes her not completely human anymore. So she is confident and either way has no plan on going anywhere except near him. The day of the birth finally arrives, and Amen cries in his beast form, scratching the door of the delivery room, from where Magetto and him have been kicked out by a very annoyed Lucy. Finally, after a ridiculously endless amount of time, they hear screaming inside, so Amen storms into the room, panicking. Lucy shushes him. Blondina lays in her bed, alive but exhausted. She smiles and enjoins her husband to go check on the babies. Plural. He goes to the cradle and immediately falls in love with the two adorable little human boys in there. A few months later, Anish and Talai, the toddlers, play with their dad, then start a fight to get Magetto, while their parents talk about them having powers despite being humans, just like Blondina. As the fight gets more intense, they reach out to separate them, but witness a full beast transformation, leaving them all dumbfounded. Amen laughs in relief. His sons are both divine beasts as well, and they came into this world without killing their mother. He has never been happier. Seeing them fight reminds the two parents of how they met, when Amen fought with Hala and Shanti when they were kids. Magetto, still in trouble, screams for help. Shanti and Amen are both discussing how troublesome their kids are when Zen asks his dad why they are here, outside the forest. Shanti points out to Hala in her human form training for the archery tournament with Blondina and Lucy. It's the princess's turn to shoot, and as she hits the target right on the spot, Amen brags out loud how amazing and wonderful his baby's mommy is. He looks at her, laughing with Hala and Lucy. and remembers how lonely she was as a kid and smiles at her great character development. Lucy is about to shoot as well under the worried eyes of Lard, and when she hits the target, he screams in pride and yells at everyone to throw a party to celebrate the Empress's success. Amin and Shantae look at him, judging how emotional he's become since their wedding. Zen, Anish, and Talai spot two wolves nearby and go play with them, thinking they are friends. Later this evening, Blondina offers Amin to take some time off the kids for his birthday. They think about who might take care of them while they are away, and Amin comes up with an idea. Maharin, an apparently very strong human who Amin trusts to handle his two unmanageable kids. Despite not knowing the man, Blondina complies, confident in Amin's judgment. A few days later, both leave for their trip together. When they arrive, they have a walk in the place's garden. Blondina, amazed by the scenery, notices a flower on a cliff. Amin gives her his coat and asks her to wait for him. She is now alone in the garden, still admiring the landscape, when a stranger shows up. He introduces himself as Ronan Kingsford from the Earldom of Kingsford. He asks where her guards are since it can be dangerous for a lady to walk alone, to which she answers that guards would be useless to her. Amin sneaks behind her and asks deadly who the man is. Blondina starts to introduce everyone, but is interrupted by Ronan, who is determined to think that Amin is her guard in disguise and offers to guide them around the area and to their lodging, which triggers the beast. He gives his wife the flower she saw earlier and grabs the young lord by the collar. Blondina runs to them and orders her husband to leave him alone. One of the lord's servants arrives and gets annoyed at the couple for mistreating his master, but Ronan gets up and apologizes for the misunderstanding, still thinking Amin is a guard. The beast cannot take it anymore and explains that not only the lady is married, but also she is married to him, so he is not some random guard. The young earl apologizes right away, and she grabs the opportunity to introduce them properly. The imperial princess and the leader of the divine beasts. Ronan faints, realizing how much he screwed up. He does a 90-degree apology bow and rushes to the banner with his servant. Blondina calms Amin down, thinking that this young earl might be of use at the end, since he seems to be a decent man in the end, so she plans to introduce him to Lart. As Amin keeps on complaining, she turns him into a kitten as a punishment to make him think about his actions and his extraordinary possessive behavior. Ronan comes back with a literal mountain of presents. He enjoins the princess to accept his presents as an apology for his lack of manners. She accepts, but on the only condition that he comes to the palace to meet the emperor. They both agree on those terms, and everything is forgiven. Ronan then asks Blondina where her husband went and notices the cat at her feet. As a petty revenge, she says she has no clue whose cat it is, triggering Amin. During the evening, back at their inn, Amin is childishly pouting at Blondina. She kisses him on the cheek to make him stop, which works. He tells her that no matter how much she turns him into a kitten, he cannot help his jealousy as he really hates that other men can look at her. She smiles at him, and she says she doesn't mind his form as long as they remain together. Meanwhile, at their mansion, Maharin struggles with the two devilish kids. They keep their beast forms and are full of energy. At some point, the human succeeds in having them go to take a nap, but Magetto enters loudly in the room, which wakes the twins up, ready to play with the sparrow. Blondina and Amin are now at their mansion. She is woken up by Amin in his kitten form, which he turns into more often since quite a few times now. They overhear their children aggressively playing on a branch with Magetto, but decide not to step in since the twins requested to be left alone while they play. However, a branch breaks, and Talai falls into a pond. Amin turns instantly into a leopard and goes to catch him before he drowns. Blondina scolds her kids for their dangerous behavior, and they go find something to eat, not bothered by what happened. Amin crawls to Blondina, all sad and wet, waiting for his wife to take care of him as well. She hugs him. He tries to kiss her, but the kids turn back, screaming at their mother about the cookies they found and want to share with her. She leaves Amin's arms and happily goes to them, leaving a teary Amin behind. A few years later, the toddlers are more kids by now. They go ask their grandfather to play with them, but Blondina corrects their manners, as they should call the previous emperor Your Majesty. They ask why, and when she is unable to give a proper answer, Amun runs after them. The old man looks at them, smiling at this beautiful family he once dreamt to have. A few decades ago, when the previous emperor was still a prince, his guards brought him a potential descendant of Baharan, Lily, Blondina's mother. The woman is not impressed by the prince, not having a clue of who he might be, and scolds him like a child. If the knights are outraged by her behavior, the prince is more impressed by such boldness. He takes her to the temple, and when it's confirmed that she is not who he was looking for, he offers to take her back to her village personally as an apology for their rudeness. They all go to the village and keep on searching for the descendant of Baharan. When they finally give up, a knight shows up, screaming he found someone. The person takes them in the forest and traps the prince to kill him, apparently under the threat of one of his brothers. He manages to escape, badly injured. He loses consciousness when Lily finds him bleeding in the grass. He wakes up in a bed covered up with bandages, with the young woman beside him. She explains that she brought him back to her place and healed him as much as she could, without telling anyone. The young prince offers to pay her back, which she accepts, making him fall in love. When he can finally get up, they meet outside, and he asks her what she wants as payment. She cannot think of anything at the moment, so she takes him to the market to wander around. She finds a beautiful red rose and requests this as a payback. He feels like one single rose is not enough, so he offers to buy a bouquet instead, and she asks for 1 rose per day until it makes a bouquet. He agrees to pay for a rose every time the previous one withers. 6 months later, Lily is pregnant. They both happily walk in a field of flowers when the prince notices an assassin behind a tree. He calls her name, holds her in his arms, unable to say if the assassin noticed that he was spotted. Lily, on the other hand, didn't see anything. A few days later, she begs him to go outside. To protect her, he prevented her from leaving the house. He states that it's because of the chilly temperature, but she says that she didn't notice it when she got the mail, which reminds her of a letter that had arrived for him earlier. He recognizes the seal and goes pale reading the letter. He has 6 months to find the descendant of Baharan, or else his brother would access the throne. He hugs Lily, trusting that their child would be this long-awaited person, so he could return to the palace with his woman and kid. Little did he know, when he first met his daughter, his disappointment was immeasurable. She was obviously not the person he was looking for. That night, he gets up and meets someone outside. Lily overhears their conversation, confirming her doubts. This man is not just an average noble and has to leave to accomplish his duty. She holds her baby and cries a little, because despite knowing that for a long time, it still hurts. She composes herself back and goes back to her acting. At least she will have her daughter with her when her prince is left alone. One day, young Lucy Harive met Princess Blondina. Because she always showed her nothing but kindness, Lucy decided to serve her the best possible way. However, as determined as she may have been, she couldn't do anything against the other nobles bullying her mistress, especially her siblings, Lart and Adelaide. If the princess is sneakier, the prince, however, is more direct in his behavior, which upsets Lucy to tears. One day, she walked nearby the stalls and overheard Lart talking to a horse, wondering why nobody was on his side. Adelaide, his mother, the nobles, the servants, no one. She realized at this moment how lonely he was, and that explained why he tried to get closer to Blondina in his clumsy way. That is also maybe why she ran to him when he fell off his horse. After this event, she met him more and more coincidentally, until one day, when they were older, he asked her out to the opera. She first refused this relationship due to their ranking difference, but the man is tenacious. He kept on covering her with gifts, asking to spend time with her, not minding what people might think about them. So, she opened up her heart to him, and now they are getting married, him being emperor and her future empress. At a party when they were kids, Adelaide and Lart were having a good time chatting with the De Hills kids. All of a sudden, Clea asks the princess why she betrayed them. Adelaide is now trapped in her mind, debating herself between the De Hills. Lart and Philip all looking down to her and pushing her to her death. She wakes up and sees Louis worried by her side. Later that day, she is sitting by herself at her table, so she invites the young kid to join her for dessert as she needs some company. She asks him if he has any family, since he reminds her a lot about Joseph. He answers that he only has a mother and a younger brother because his father died 1 year prior, forcing him to find a job to support his family. She inquires if he is upset to work afar from them, and he says that he was a bit sad and lonely at first, even jealous of his brother. But since everyone has always been so kind to him at the mansion, giving him his own room and warm meals, then he feels good at the end. He adds that his family might be jealous of that but never mentions it, so they understand each other. This triggers something in Adelaide and reminds her how not understanding she used to be towards her family. Louis listens to her and says, smiling, that it's not too late for her. Later, she asks for paper and pen to write a letter to Lart. At the Divine's Beast mansion, Blondina wakes everyone up to attend a party. She struggles with the kids, but mentioning food and their friend Zen works wonders. She also picks up Almond, who inexplicably refuses to turn into any other form than the kitten one. They all arrive at the party and find Shanti, Hala, and Zen. The 3 kids happily run to the food, and the 2 beasts wonder why their leader is laying on Blondina's shoulder in his kitten form. Hala offers to watch the kids, so Almond and Blondina take some time they obviously need for themselves. As they are leaving, they are interrupted by Lart and Lucy. The Emperor thanks his sister for introducing him to Ronan Kingsford, as it allowed him to reduce his workload. A servant arrives to warn the imperial couple that a delegation has arrived and that they need to go to welcome them, to Almond's great happiness. However, when the delegation arrives, Blondina comments on their beautiful hair, and the beast cannot take it anymore. He turns back to his human form and complains that she never looks at him anymore and only cares about others. She understands now his recent behavior and hugs him, assuring him that she always only had eyes for him and no one else. As Anish and Thalai run to them to hug as well, Blondina and Almond pick them up and promise to be happy together forever. This is it. The story is now officially and definitely over. Did you like those spin-offs? What manhwa would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comment section. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more content. Bye!